Let's talk about average rate of change. Average rate of change means simply we compute the slope, okay? And by slope we mean a rise over run. So average rate of change can be also written as change in output divided by change in input. Average rate of change means, let's suppose you drive a car and your speed is 35 miles per hour. So what does that mean? 35 miles per hour. Now this actually can be written as 35 divided by 1. Okay, 35 is miles and 1 is hour. Okay, so this is the difference between the output and this is the difference between the input. Okay, so input here is in hours in terms of 1 hour per unit hour. Difference between the distance is the output is just 35 miles. So that's the main reason behind saying 35 miles per hour. That means in each hour you will be traveling 35 miles. Now mathematically what we can write about average rate of change would be, it would be represented by del y, change in y, the change in vertical axis, that's rise, and change in horizontal axis, that's run. So it can be written as rise over run. Simply this would be y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. This is simply the slope. Now this thing comes into play whenever we have something just like this, this situation. Let's suppose p x1 y1 is the coordinate of first point and q is the coordinate of q has coordinates x2 y2. So y2 minus y1 would be, this one is y2 minus y1 and this distance is x2 minus x1. Okay, now let us transform this simple formula of average rate of change, which is y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. That's essentially the formula for slope joining two lines, joining 2 points of a straight line. And let us consider there's this function y equals f of x. Then at x equals to x1, point directly above it, above this x equals x1 would be x1 comma f of x1, right? So that's the first point. And let's suppose this is x2, then the point lying directly up above x2 would be this point, which is simply x2 comma f of x2. Okay, then you can see that the average rate of change would be given by the slope of this line which joins between this. So this is x1 y1 x2 y2. So I can write by this using this function's formula. So this would be y1 and this would be y2. Thus if we replace this y2 and y1 by f of x1 and f of x2, then we'll be getting f of x2 minus f of x1 divided by x2 minus x1. Okay, and again I am telling you that if you are intending to take calculus, then this is the starting point for everything in calculus. Let us consider y equals to fx to be this curve. Then if we want to find the average rate of change from this point x1 up to x2, the corresponding points would be these two. Then we are basically finding out the slope of the straight line joining these 2 points, where this point is x1 comma f of x1 and this point is x2 comma f of x2, right? Thus we have this formula, del y divided by del x is f of x2 minus f of x1 divided by x2 minus x1. Let's do a problem. F of x is given to be 4x squared minus 7 and we need to find the average rate of change in this interval. Let us first find out f of x1, which is 1. So this is x1 and this is x2. F of x1 would be simply f of 1, that's 4 times 1 square minus 7, which is 4 minus 7 equals to 3, negative 3. For x2, f of x2, we would have f of b equals 4 times b square minus 7, which is simply 4b square minus 7. Okay, now let's calculate the average rate of change. This is the formula for the average rate of change. Now let us plug in these values f of x2 and f of x1 into numerator and denominator respectively. F of x2 is 4b square minus 7 minus f of x1 is negative 3. So be careful about the negative signs and plug in the values appropriately. X2 is b minus x1 is simply 1. So that would be 4b square minus 7 minus minus 3, that's 7 plus 3. Negative 7 plus 3 is 4. So that's b minus 1. Then I can see that this 4b square minus 4 also can be written as, you can write in this way. So I can pull this 4 out or factor out from both of those. So this will become b square minus 1 can also be written as 4b minus 1 b plus 1 divided by b minus 1. So this one and this one can be cancelled. Thus our average rate of change would be equals 4b plus 1. Okay, so that's it.